My production, it's always giving props to what came before.
We don't claim any sound, but we are shaping a sound that exists to be able to leave that footprint.
There's something timeless in that.
There's been a bass scene in Copenhagen for years. The biggest sound is obviously techno, trance. There's a big scene for the more queer-oriented parties. The love I have for garage came from growing up and being interested in electronic music. I discovered Rinse FM and Get Darker TV. We kind of came up together in the lo-fi house music scene. This is basically where it all began. First time I met Zach in person was when I booked him to come play a show with me here at Bakken, like 2017. There were like quite a cool Thursday night club here called Brandy, which was exclusively garage. There was a radio that was in there where there's an office now. So we started the night playing a set in there. And then for the club night, we played in the booth. Originally, I booked him where it was like me warming up and then him playing. He played a couple of tunes and then I came up to him and was like, how's it going? You all right? Do you need a drink or whatever? And then he was like, do you want to just play with me? And so we did the back-to-back all night instead. It sounds so, trivial, but there really is like a chemistry that I don't have with any other person. And when it comes to DJing, it really is unmatched when I go in the booth with him. I think this place is quite pivotal to like what we did back in the day, Zach and I, because this is basically where all the like newer garage stuff that came about in Copenhagen really came from.
It was there that I'd sort of taken a step back with producing. Where do I sit as an artist, What do I like to create? If you're from the UK, garage has always been there. And I'd never considered myself as a garage DJ. It was just the sound of the UK when I grew up. I remember taking a step back and just being like, look, I love this sound. I'm just going to make it, started producing a little bit more differently. And by the time I'd gone to Copenhagen, I had about 10 garage tunes that I was ready to show Adam just on a whim. Bolton's a town. It's about 18 minutes from Manchester. So from a very young age, we were here. This was the city to be in. When we started going out and clubbing, we had Sankeys and we had Warehouse Project. I grew up with your Swamp 81 takeovers, your Hessel Audios from the get-go. Sankeys was just around here. Obviously, it was years ago, but I always hold that experience so close to my heart. You tend to think of the club nights that you went to when I'm performing. That's like at the forefront of my mind of that's what a club night should be. There's a lot of inspiration to take away from the city and there's a lot of influence from the music history that Manchester's had. They still talk about the Hacienda. It's crazy really, but I love that because that's an era that was so huge and that was here, that was in Manchester, do you know what I mean? In 2011 and 12, we were digging deeper into a darker sound of club music. My first introduction to garage that wasn't on mainstream radio was Ghost, the club. When we started making it, that was the blueprint.
We were chatting and sending tunes back and forth. And then when I had him over to play here, I had him over to originally play lo-fi. And then when he rocked up, he was just playing garage.
I remember the LB record that you played. I played him the tunes that I'd made. And then after we'd come back from that booking that we had, me and him just had this arsenal of garage tunes that were new, They weren't just the classics.
I'd been playing a bit of garage as well, and we hadn't really talked about this. And so I just played garage. And then on the B2B night, we just played garage for the whole night. I created Mainface a short while after that.
Straight from Copenhagen. Oi, are you lot ready for Mainface?
We'd only met each other physically a handful of times when we did HW01.
We were writing so much music during lockdown.
We were waiting around to release stuff on other labels.
It was almost just like, look, well, why don't we just create our own label and put that out together?
I rang my mate Natal, DJ Central from Aarhus, and I asked how many to press, where to press it. And he helped me out quite a bit. And I rang Zach back and I was like, basically it's going to cost us this. And if we just pay this, it'll pay itself if it sells out. And then we did a press and it sold out instantly. And then we pressed it again and it sold out again.
Whenever we'd see each other again, we'd be playing up each other records. Oh, have you heard this? Oh, listen to this. This is crazy. I remember buying so many records, stuff that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s.
When I was 14, 15, I have a bit of family in the UK, so whenever we go over to see them, I would just go record shopping as well. Fly home with like 50 new records.
With collecting records, there comes history and there comes education. If you look at that era, I can look at the two big labels that were leading and know exactly who's from Sheffield, know exactly what that London sound is, just by education. There used to be YouTube channels like Alias and Bass, a guy called Herfy D, UK Funky. These were just people that would upload all these tunes. That was where you would get your music from. That idea of finding a song that no one else had, that's crucial. And this is the same thing as when I was going out. I would want to go see this artist or this artist, knowing that they would have that specific track that no one else had.
We think about music in a similar, if not the exactly same way, but we just attack it from different angles.
If you were to ask either one of us separately what our influences were and what our techniques were and what we wanted to create, it'd be very, very similar. I'll never forget the magic of ATW02, that session of just being in the room together and writing 4 tunes in 2 days.
That weekend, it was my first Warehouse Project show and he was playing leads. I remember With You, for example, which is the A1, was like, I've got this Big Ange record, I want to make a tune like this. Right, within the first half an hour, we're on the way, sorted. So we go, do our shows, play With You, play this hype edit, and we're like listening to it in the club and like, okay, this is sick.
As a producer, I use radio to showcase an idea, showcase a tune. I use the club to see if it works, because like club music has to be functional. You've got a mission, you've got to make people move.
The next day comes around, I think Adam's about to leave, and I'm like, I've got this Beavis and Butthead sort of dub, and that's where the sample for 100% came from. If you're a producer, you know that feeling of like everything just aligning perfectly, and that's exactly what happens.
I think you can tell there's a more coherent sound in the second one, but the first one feels like we tried to merge our sounds, whereas in the second one, they are merged, you know.
When we set out to make a label in the beginning, it was very much like we want to carve a sound of the time of us, of what we were doing. To look at the label now and be able to bring it overseas and people share that vision just makes me really proud.
This is very much in sync with what we started out doing in 2020. This is very much the same energy, the same sort of vibe. It's just cool to be out here and play these 6 shows.
We want people to look back at this label and be like, that was the sound of this time, that was the sound of this, that artist was that crucial at that point, and this and this. Music should be timeless. We want to look back in 20 years and it still have the same effect in the club that it has now. ATW is a label that me and Adam, we're curating it. I remember the first time Big Ange reached out and the first time Jamie Duggan reached out. It's like quite surreal to think that these guys were pioneers in what they did, and now they can appreciate that we're trying to push that sound forward. When we had the opportunity to put out music from these legends, it was just a no-brainer. And the fact that they'd even trust us to do that, I'm just very proud to be affiliated with them. It's crazy, really.
The main thing is just to keep staying true to what we started out to be.
I want to keep putting out good music that captures everything that we play and put on these new kids who are making the sickest stuff.
When I look back at other artists and labels and people who came before us, I just want to have that impact, to be able to leave that footprint behind. In 10, 20 years, have kids be like referencing ATW as like a label that really set the pace. If we could in any way, shape or form capture that, I'd be well proud, you know, because that is the mission, innit?